How to track cold showers and their length. If you want to do cold showers, it makes sense to track them in order to maximize motivation for doing those. So I found a few ways how you can track cold showers. The first way is to use pen and paper or the digital pendant, which is just writing the length down. In this regard, it makes sense to use some kind of system where you have dates aligned, like Notion. But I'm currently not using Notion. What I'm currently using is a habit tracker. So my rule is that I have to at least do 1 second of cold shower. It's basically a very low entry rule because at any given day, even if it's minus 20 degrees Celsius in winter, I can very easily do 1 second of cold shower. Compared to setting a goal that is like 5 minutes, which also is a big water waste. So now, this is the first option. The second option is to use something that is dedicated to cold shower tracking. There is actually an app called Cold Shower Tracking, and this lets you track cold showers. Here's the problem though. I mean, cold showers is not the only thing I do in terms of optimizing my health. So therefore, it is kind of a problem if I need for every specific thing an app. So if I want to track my keto diet, I have an app. If I want to track my bike rides, I need an extra app. So ideally, everything would be combined in one system. So let's discuss these combined systems. I use Samsung Health because I'm in the Samsung ecosystem, and in there, ideally, in Samsung Health, you could track also things like sauna, cold showers, but you can't. So therefore, you have to find another solution. And now that we discovered Samsung Health, not discovered, but discussed, we also can discuss other things, like Strava, for example, also doesn't offer options like these. What I found though, and this seems to be kind of the best option if you don't choose the option that will come last, is the Wim Hof Method app. There is a downside though, but we will get into this downside. So first, Wim Hof is basically the man who single-handedly brought this method of breathing from older cultures and older times into our modern day life, and also coined his name as the method name. So Wim Hof method is basically a combination of breathing exercises and also cold exercises. He doesn't necessarily include sauna, but much more the cold. But there seems also to be some benefit to doing heat exposure. Actually also similar to cold exposure, it obviously doesn't work in the same ways, but there seems to be some benefit also. So he has an app, and in this app what you can do is you can track your cold showers. But the problem is that there is kind of a paywall for certain features. I actually can't quite remember as of currently if you can track single-handedly cold showers, but no. You can either track cold showers or cold baths, but if you want to do both, I think you need a subscription. And that's also kind of a problem. And even though the app is really nice, I actually use it every time I do the Wim Hof method, because there is a free breathing exercise that actually is just a visualization combined with audio that is just very nice, hands down. And it's available in the free version, but I don't really use it to track other things. You potentially could also track push-ups, you could also track, but you can then only track push-ups, which is kind of a problem again. I mean, who wants to only track push-ups? If you want to start out getting into fitness, getting into the gym, this might be a good idea. But if you want to track squats, if you want to track bench press, then the Wim Hof method is not the app that encompasses it all. So therefore, if we want to search for an app that encompasses it all, we have to search deeper, you could say. And I actually didn't really search, but I actually found this on a YouTube video by YouTube channel Katie Type A, who made a review about Heads Up. So Heads Up now is basically the attempt to provide a solution for all the fitness enthusiasts or health enthusiasts that want to optimize their fitness to another level. Because there are these different services like Strava, like Apple Health. Strava is actually not really on the same level as Apple Health and Samsung Health or Xiaomi Health. And these provide basically the basic function, the basic functionality of activity tracking. But what you actually want to add additionally to this basic function is also tracking other things, like maybe tracking, of course you can track your sleep, you can track your activity, but what about if I want to track how long have I been in the sauna and on which days I have been in the sauna. Again, you could use something like a habit tracker, and my habit tracker is basically an Excel spreadsheet, but it's on my smartphone, and it's an app called Loop Habit, so there are two apps which are very similar. The one is called Loop Habit, the other one is called 7 Habit. And I use this. It doesn't have an automatic backup, which is kind of a bummer, but I found the simple structure to be the easiest. So I currently track sauna, I also track cold baths, and I also track cold showers, because these are kind of different things for me. Because a cold bath is not a shower, and also a cold bath is not necessarily an ice bath. Because if you take a cold bath in summer outside, 25 degrees Celsius, and you compare it to a 0-degree cold bath or ice bath outside, then these are not kind of the same in terms of how mentally demanding these are, or how mentally demanding it is to actually get into the tub. So what I use is I try to make it into a habit that I can check off daily. So it's basically an off or on function, but this of course doesn't allow you again to track the length of something. What you need for tracking the length of something is actually a Tally tracker. That's actually what it is called. And there is another app if you are really concerned about data privacy. There is an app called Noemi, which is not available in the App Store, but you can download it online as an APK file and then download it onto your phone. I think it also has a version for the PC app, but I'm not entirely sure about this. And you can do different things with cloud storage, so it seems to be a little bit more secure. The problem with this app though is that it's very slow. I tried to use it, but it's just very slow. But you can use it to track all these different things, like tracking timestamps, for example, which is not available in a habit tracker. And also, if you want to build something like this in Notion, on the phone, you don't have really a good interface, because the Notion interface on a phone is kind of good, but it's also kind of slow, and it's not really made for tracking habits, for example. So you could go into Noemi, which is an app that allows you to track the length and also the timestamp of something, but you have to understand it a little bit in order to actually use it. And then we go into the last thing, which I told you previously about, the app I discovered on YouTube. It's called Heads Up, and it's not only an app but also a web app. So it is basically on your phone but also on your browser. And what this app allows you to do is to combine different health services together. So they currently offer support for Oura, Google Fit, currently not Samsung Health. And since you cannot sync all the data from Samsung Health to Google Fit, this might be a little bit of a problem. There is actually a service called Health Sync you can use to sync data from Samsung Health to Google Fit, and then use Google Fit basically as your primary source for certain apps of fitness data. You can also connect zero fasting, I guess. I'm not entirely sure about this. But the main thing is that you can, additionally to integrating all of these services, you can also add your health records. So your health records are basically one thing that is currently missing in all of these fitness apps. I mean, ideally you would have one app to track all of your health data, because all of your health data, I mean, there are potential links between all those different things. If you sleep for 2 hours a night, tracked in Samsung Health, then you might also have problems in other areas of your life. If you have any diseases, these might actually get worse, or things like these. So therefore, it makes sense to have all of these data, all of this health data in one app. Of course, not really in terms of data privacy, because then everybody can access it, everybody being the government, and maybe also hackers. But I think the potential upside of having this information and making these potential links is far greater than the downsides. Not far greater, but currently it is greater, and also maybe because it's so gamified, I am currently diving into this. So the app is called Heads Up. You can add your health records, which I already partially did. I added a few blood test results. Then you can add these fitness apps as integrations, and then on top of it you can do tally trackers actually. And in there you have a tally tracker, so a manual tracker for sauna. So you can say at a certain date, maybe also a certain time, you can actually add how long of sauna treatment you did. You can currently, I think, not enter the degrees of the sauna, so how hot it was, but you can track sauna, you can also track ice baths and cold baths. And that's, I think, kind of the best solution for tracking cold showers also, but also for tracking sauna and things like these. There are two different versions, a freemium version and a pro version, and you might get into trouble if you try to track too much because, well, or if you have too many integrations. I think you have only a certain number of integrations, but in total, I think these are the solutions that make sense in order to track cold treatment or cold showers.